Hey everyone! Welcome back to our deep dive into the history of Laos. We've journeyed through some incredibly turbulent times, and today we arrive at a moment that felt like a long-awaited dawn after a seemingly endless night. We're talking about the Vientiane Agreement, signed on February 21st, 1973. For years, Laos had been caught in the crossfire of larger global conflicts. A place where bombs fell like rain and peace seemed like a distant dream. The people had endured unimaginable hardship. But on this day in 1973, something shifted. The major warring factions, the Royal Lao government and the Pathet Lao, finally came to the table in Vientiane. Imagine the atmosphere in the city, a mix of cautious hope, nervous anticipation, and sheer exhaustion from decades of conflict. This wasn't just a simple ceasefire. The agreement was a comprehensive plan to end the fighting and, crucially, to form a new coalition government. It was called the Provisional Government of National Union. The goal was to bring both sides together to rule the country, to share power, and to hopefully, finally, steer Laos towards a future of its own making, free from outside interference. It was a monumental step, a recognition that the only way forward was together. The agreement called for the withdrawal of all foreign troops and military personnel, aiming to restore Laos's neutrality, a principle that had been violated for far too long. It was a promise of sovereignty, a chance for the Lao people to reclaim their nation. For the average person living through this, the news must have felt like a miracle. After years of uncertainty and danger, the signing of this peace agreement represented a tangible hope for a normal life, for rebuilding, and for a future where their children wouldn't have to know the sounds of war. Of course, signing a piece of paper is one thing. Implementing it is another challenge entirely. The path to true peace would still be fraught with difficulties. What happened next? How did this fragile new government work? We'll explore all of that in our next episode. Thanks for watching, and if you're finding this series insightful, please hit that subscribe button and join us for the rest of the story. See you next time, hello, and welcome back to our deep dive into the complex history of Laos. In our last episode, we left off with the country teetering on the brink, caught in the crossfire of larger global conflicts. Today, we arrive at a pivotal moment, the Vientiane Agreement of 1973. After years of relentless fighting and devastating bombing campaigns, the winds of change were finally blowing. Both the Royal Lao government and the Pathet Lao were exhausted by the conflict. More importantly, their international backers were shifting their strategies. The United States, embroiled in Vietnam, was looking for a way out of Indochina, and the Paris Peace Accords, signed just a month earlier in January 1973, set a powerful precedent. The stage was set for a Lao solution to a Lao problem. On February 21st, 1973, in the capital city of Vientiane, a ceasefire agreement was signed. This wasn't just a pause in the fighting. It was a comprehensive plan for peace and national reconciliation. The agreement called for an immediate cessation of all military activities, including the American bombing raids that had ravaged the landscape for nearly a decade. For the first time in years, a fragile silence fell over the mountains and valleys of Laos. The agreement was ambitious. It stipulated the formation of a new provisional government of national union and a national political consultative council. The idea was to create a power-sharing structure, with both the Vientiane side and the Pathet Lao holding equal influence. This coalition government was tasked with a monumental job: neutralizing the political centers of Vientiane and Luang Prabang, organizing new general elections, and ultimately reunifying the country under a single, peaceful administration. Furthermore, the agreement demanded the withdrawal of all foreign troops and military personnel from Laos soil within 60 days. This was a direct acknowledgement of the extensive foreign intervention that had fueled the war for so long. On paper, it was a blueprint for a sovereign, independent, and neutral Laos. A glimmer of hope, a potential dawn after a long, dark night. But as with any peace treaty signed in the shadow of a long war, the ink was barely dry before new challenges emerged. Was this agreement a true foundation for lasting peace, or just a temporary truce in a larger ideological struggle? The path to genuine reconciliation would be fraught with suspicion and political maneuvering. Join us in the next episode as we explore the fragile first steps of this new coalition government and examine the powerful external and internal forces that would ultimately determine whether this shatter in the dark would lead to a new dawn or another chapter of conflict. Thank you so much for watching. If you're finding this series informative, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss part 15. We'll see you next time.